My name is Red Canary, but canaries can actually fly. I'm working on it. You've heard of the original Black Canary? Well, get ready for Red Canary. Yes, DC Comics is unveiling yet another legacy hero. This one inspired by Black Canary. Who is this mysterious new heroine? Well, time of recording, it's still being slowly revealed. But there are those who felt inclined to speculate, and there were some theories, and some that have already seemingly been debunked. I'm Sasha, this is Casually Comics, and we're going to take a look at what DC appears to be hoping will be a breakout up-and-coming new character. Or at least one that they can put on variants, because that's already happening. So where does this new character come from? Well, she emerges from the pages of Dark Crisis. This in 2022. Dark Crisis is an event that is once more playing in the realms of the multiverse, as the last few have. Rebranded as Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths following issue 3, this to tie it more into Crisis on Infinite Earths, which it was pulling many plot threads from, including having Pariah in it, but this time as the big bad controlled by the Great Darkness. The infinite multiverse is re-emerging. Things are being reconfigured again. And the end of this event is leading into the Dawn of DC or Dawn of DCU. You'll probably hear it both ways. That's coming in 2023. But of course, a crisis has a setup. In this case, one of the events that kicked it off was the death of the Justice League in Justice League 75, released in April of 2022. While heralded as a big event by DC editorial and some news outlets who report on comic book news, one could also be forgiven for not knowing that it was happening at all. Because thanks to the structure of the at time and play omniverse and the event being set slightly off from the timeline of the other books in DC's line, those books just continued. So if you picked up those books, people were still alive, so it was like it was happening its own little pocket bubble. For some, it made the event feel disjointed and weightless, while if you were aggressively following this event, it may have hit different and felt more grandiose. Though some also argue in general, even if you're reading it that way, this event doesn't feel that large, or not as large as it should for the changes that it says that it's going to make. Time will tell if this remains the overall sentiment. How events are ranked can shift and move over time. The death of such key figures in the universe, plus a looming cataclysmic multiversal event, led to trying to recruit new teams and get as many heroes on board as possible, which is already a lot of heroes. It's in the midst of all this that Red Canary emerges. But her arrival was heralded, so there's been a bit of a push behind her, a tiny one. She got a little introducing advert before she showed up. This by the architect and author of the main event himself, Joshua Williamson. On June 29th of 2022, he tweeted out the following. Introducing to Dark Crisis, a brand new legacy character. You know it's serious because there are ellipses. Red Canary. Character designed by the amazing Dan Mora. First appearance in Dark Crisis number 3 on August at DC Nation. The final order cutoff for this issue and this cover is July 10th. Pre-order this week. Sorry, when people add an exclamation mark, I feel like I need to hit it extra hard. This tweet, while it did not set the world on fire, was a clear indication of excitement on her creator's part, as well as a push to get that cover out there. Marketing to get those collectors and speculators interested. Maybe one day it'll be worth a lot, and maybe one day it'll be worth 20 cents. Now this announcement started off some very light speculation as to who this could be, and how is she connected to Dinah. It got me wondering how she stops those holes in her tights from widening while actively pursuing baddies. She must go through a lot of tights. Now, given the amount of legacy characters already at play in DC, some who have been cast to the wayside, others who were just created in previous events only a couple years prior and have yet to be fully fleshed out, left some not necessarily over the moon with this announcement. Yet another legacy character entering the mix, a new challenger. Yes, the Arrow family may not be as large as the Bat family or the Flash family or the Superman family, which is hilarious because they went through all that effort to cut Superman's family back down and now it's even bigger than it was before. Still, some feel there are already too many characters in play. No more. Work with what you have so far. Although there are some who had a theory that this was actually the return of an older character, more on that later. And some were just excited to see a new character, thinking yes, there may be lots of legacy characters, but not all of them take off, and they've had their time and it's time to try somebody new. Or some just feel you can never have too many legacy characters. Characters everywhere. Let me know your thoughts down below. Now this tweet was well worded because it didn't say debuting in Dark Crisis number 3, but rather first appearance, which is very apt because she's in one panel, not even all of her. It's one of those, ooh look, an eye. She appears as Donna Troy is discussing the attack and destruction of Teen Titans Tower, and the death of the Justice League and how that's impacted not just the heroes but the world, everyone. While that's going on, we're getting various reaction shots of some of the heroes. Some are hanging up their capes, others want to be with their family and friends, and even those who still have hope. There she is, that's her, putting her domino mask on, meant to symbolize one of the new generation, rising to the challenge, still having that fighting spirit. And that's it, see you again in issue number 5, but not before we quintuple down on that Hal Jordan Parallax reboot that I love so much. I don't love it, that was sarcasm. Your home, Hal Jordan, Coast City was destroyed, and you remember the lengths you went to get it back? That wasn't me. But you still got it back, didn't you? With a wave of a hand. You'll never make me accept it, DC. In issue 5 of Dark Crisis, now in Infinite Earths, we get another Red Canary panel. Now this is issue 5 of 7 of the main series, so by this point it's going down. The main battles are raging. The members of the Justice League, who are decidedly not dead, are being rescued from their ideal Earths. They were trapped there in Dark Crisis tie-ins called World Without a Justice League and then insert character name. Side note, all of those comics felt like there was a homework assignment given out that nobody fully understood. Like the instructions given out were just poor, as the majority feature the characters on worlds that don't really line up with what their ideal dream worlds would be, especially if their entire histories are meant to be in play and being taken into account. But that's a discussion for another time. They ranged. Those tie-ins were a fascinating, at times baffling trip. Miles will vary. I'm sure some felt that they were very accurate and landed well. Now in this issue, Red Canary is seen once more while they're discussing heroes, how they're reacting to this big call to battle. Some rejected it, while a few new faces stepped up. So we see here that she's staring at a picture of Black Canary. But when do we get to see her do something, you ask? Well, that occurs in a tie-in. This one, Dark Crisis Dark Army from November of 2022. This tie-in is focused on a team led by Damian Wayne, who breaks off from the main battle at the Hall of Justice because he thinks he has a way to take control of Pry's Dark Army. So while John can't come with him because he's needed to have a dramatic moment with his father in issue 6 in the main book, Damian has to get his own team. There's this panel of this hug, and I don't know, it just looks incredibly awkward to me. So Damian gets Sideways, Power Girl, and 80s Dr. Light. There is an amusing panel where he thinks about taking Booster Gold, but then decides against it. It's while they're gearing up to go that he spots Red Canary. She's about to be hit by a truck. He doesn't recognize her and saves her, which brings her into the new universe they travel to with them, and also presents her in the art style of that world, where everybody has a very intense glow-up. Side note, this issue opened by telling me how tall Damian was. Thanks, Dark Army. I stand 5'4" and weigh in at 140 pounds. Now this one shot is written by Mark Waid, Delilah S. Dawson, and Dennis Culver, and has two artists, Freddie E. Williams II and Jack Herbert. The latter is the one who is drawing when we start to get our first taste of Red Canary as a character. Oof! This new girl can't fly and isn't particularly graceful. Rude. My name is Red Canary, but canaries can actually fly. I'm working on it. You can't fly and your name is Robin. Try harder, Damian. That burn was weak. Red Canary will serve as our audience stand-in for when we need to know what's going on, as the new girl, as Damian keeps calling her. So she can ask those obvious what's going on questions, then the team will answer. Although even in that capacity, some of the questions she asks she should know the answer to. So just to get on the same page, there are other worlds? Other worlds, other dimensions, big angry guys who don't like it when I go to them? And are they all destroyed like this? Her other hallmark to start is that she's presented more as an every girl, and that she wants Damian to say her name, it's Red Canary. Rawr. She also takes some time to exposit what her skills are, because at this point before this issue she's had 2 panels, so she needs to explain something. I got involved because I want to help people. With Black Canary gone, someone has to carry the torch. This is great. I'm not the new kid anymore. Do you have any cool powers? Not yet, but I stole these high-tech Eskrima sticks from some baddie, and I've been training in jiu-jitsu. Red Canary wants to prove that she belongs there. Just jumping right into the deep end, right here at the end of the world, or as Power Girl points out, also potentially the end of all existence. Damian looks so much older in this art style, my word. You're untried, untested, unknown, one false move and you could be the downfall of the entire multiverse. Or it's salvation, you don't know. Superhero, not a babysitter. They also take some time to make sure you know how old she is. When she's talking to Sideways, she makes sure to mention that she's in college. So this is a productive issue for getting some details out there about Red Canary, and they're trying to drop them as naturally as possible. They are a bit exposition dumpy, but they are attempting to work it in as if they're having regular conversations and they're meeting for the first time. There's just so many new heroes and all of that stuff. The fact still remains that this is a tie-in to a main event, so it is possible that people will miss this, and when she does show up later on, which future solicits indicate she is, some people may still be like, who? This tie-in does have this one amazing panel of grumpy Damian having to be flown around by Power Girl. I love it. All in all, Red Canary doesn't do too much this issue, aside from, as mentioned, providing a greener, keener, more every girl voice, and at times being used for some comic relief. I'm getting in a fight, I swear. I wish I had a giant flashlight or a car-sized magnifying glass so we could fry them like ants. Not that I would hurt actual ants unless they were like giant and evil. Near issue's end, Dr. Multiverse looks at the team from this book to see their multiversal variant paths and determine their home reality. Aside from setting Damian up as future Batman, for now, in Red Canaries we see some variants of her, but also Green Arrow and Captain Cold, potentially foreshadowing for her being in the Green Arrow book in the future, the one that the architect of this event, Williamson, is very keen to write, as he is a self-professed Green Arrow fan. Though so far her backstory has been fleshed out by Delilah S. Dawson. This and yet another tie-in, one that seems to disprove some of the running fan theories that were out there as to who Red Canary is, maybe. The name Red Canary had been used before in DC. This referred to Dinah's mother, the first Black Canary, in a vision shown in Deathstroke Inc. #5 in March of 2022, and a dark dark world where she was a key part of the League of Assassins and went by that name. So some felt there could be a connection to that organization. Or that while Leanne Harper had been seen alive in the DC universe, associated now with Catwoman, perhaps they were going to take that character into the Arrow family and bring her another direction. Some also felt that this could be a very deep cut. A return to a long unreferenced character, Sin or Cynthia Lance, a girl that Black Canary had adopted and who had to be hidden away after being targeted by the League of Assassins. So some felt this could be her triumphant return to canon. The tie-in of Dark Crisis Warzone, released in December of 2022, is an anthology book that is filling in gaps as to what certain heroes are doing during this main battle. This includes the team from the Dark Army tie-in. And the focus in this story is very much on Red Canary. These dogs are getting out of hand. What are you, an ugly doodle? I'm your worst nightmare. Wrong. My worst nightmare involves my teeth falling out at the DMV. Now, despite her attempts to help out, she ends up overwhelmed. And even though she doesn't want to, she takes Damian's advice to step aside. I hate it when that pipsqueak is right. I may be having a panic attack. Either that or I'm dying. I can't believe I thought I could handle this. Last week I was stopping a grandma from stealing fish in the market, not facing off with the guy who kicked Superman's super butt. All I ever wanted to do was be like her, fierce, powerful, unstoppable. And then she gets to meet Black Canary, who saves her. And there's something off about this panel, something about the angles and the like, but moving on. She has a fangirl moment, but not too bad. She keeps most of it on the inside in her narration box, which is functioning as a thought bubble, which I appreciate because I like knowing what characters are thinking. It's very valuable. Black Canary plays it super cool with an always nice to meet a fan. I would be worrying at some point that this was a supervillain in disguise who wanted to wear my face, or someone who could go that way. They've copied the whole look, they're so keen. I know, I have no trust, but rule number one, son, trust no one. Red Canary confirms at this point that so far she has no superpowers, but she can fight. And she decides to project some faux confidence to impress her idol. And because she's getting validated by her, she does feel more confident. And that means it's time to expand upon her backstory a little more. I saw your band the last time you were in Seattle. You sang Fish Out of Water, and it was so transformative. That's how I felt my whole life, like there was somewhere else I belonged. That line made me think that she was singing the song from The Little Mermaid, and I'm not gonna lie, I started singing renditions myself, and if I'm not too embarrassed by them, I'll stick them at the end of the video. I'm so glad that I did not become a superhero based off of any of the songs that I liked in university. You'd be about to be saved by a Shinedown pun of some kind. Do you ever go back and listen to the songs that you thought were really deep years later just to see if you still feel that way? And sometimes you do, and sometimes you really do not. I hope that doesn't happen to Red Canary, because that would be very awkward. Okay, I can do this. My dead hero, who's somehow alive, is treating me like I'm actually a fellow superhero, so now I really have to act like one. Red Canary's holding her own. Of course she is. She's a canary. Duh. Oh, and we established she has a brother. Just all the details for you. Nice work. She got the world's first double canary kick. I always dreamed of giving a snake lady a concussion with you, but then my death hit you pretty hard, huh? Yeah, but it motivated me too. I was buying a used Fender Strat at the music store, and this guy came in with a gun. I knocked him over with a guitar, and it felt right. After that, I had to learn how to play, and I had to be a hero. And that is Red Canary, time of recording. Her explanation seems to shut down the Sin theory, though if you wanted to, you could make it fit, which perhaps would be wise to leave on the table, because so far, there's not much to her. Her personality as it stands is pretty generic. So far, she's your relatable girl in over her head who has to prove herself. Only she doesn't, because for the most part, she's fine here. She's instantly accepted by most of the heroes, not Damian, but that's par for the course for Damian, so his reaction is also normal according to his personality type. Imagine the weight if she hadn't met Black Canary right away, but instead later on into her superhero career. The payoff could have been a lot stronger, but there's maybe editorial reasons why that didn't happen. She does have some insecurities about whether she belongs, but they're quickly pushed aside and she's instantly validated. Now there is some room to play with her very close attachment to Black Canary. Perhaps take that insecurity in herself and how she's found strength in Black Canary and work with it. Make it so she has to find out who she is, what her strengths are, as whatever her name is, yet to be revealed time of recording. Because so far she said she's felt like a fish out of water, and her solution has been to transform herself into a version of someone else. There is an avenue to explore where she's not confident in her own identity. However, this may be meant to be taken as she's just so awe-inspired by Black Canary and impressed by her that she's gonna follow in her footsteps, and that's all it needs to be. And that has given her a core identity and the confidence she needs to be herself. And some may find that relatable, which is how it appears to have been intended. It would also be potentially interesting if eventually she gets to see some flaws in Black Canary and how she reacts to that, because she's imprinted on her and pedestals her so hard. And sometimes when people do that and then they see that the person isn't exactly how they thought down to the iota, they can have a very negative or visceral or just some kind of reaction. So there are definitely avenues to take the character. Miles will vary on how exciting you find her or not at this point. It is very early in her journey. But some will note even Black Canary hasn't had a lot of attention focused on her for a while. So some may feel there isn't really a need for more legacy characters. As mentioned, we're very early into this character's life cycle, but that doesn't mean we can't speculate wildly. Who knows how long it will be? This may be our only chance, or it could go on for a long time and someone could say something now and look like a prophet. What do you think of Red Canary? Do you like how she's being presented so far? Does she stand out to you? Do you want to see more of her? Even though you have no choice, because she's going to be in at least a couple more issues in Dawn of DCU. Does she feel mid, as people say time of recording, which is the new meh, which was the old not compelling? Do you like the look? Do you like her backstory so far? Tell me everything. Put it down below, and while you're down there, please do all the YouTube things. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so that you never miss a vid. Thanks so much for taking some time today spent discussing comics with me. I always appreciate it, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye. What would I give if I could fight in some fishnets, serving the looks that will get booked on Instagram? Maybe in the end they'll understand. Bet they love people stealing their costumes. Bright young women wearing linen.